We are driving. My friend in the passenger seat has gone quiet because she knows I am getting to the part I have never said out loud. Tonight I am not stopping. I promised her I would not lose my nerve this time. She has heard me start this story before and she knows where I always stop, and tonight I am going past that place. I need you to understand this is something I have never said to another human being. Not a journalist, not a friend, not the therapist who asked me once what I was still holding onto and I told her I did not know. I know now, I have always known. I just was not ready to say it. I was the one in the headset, stage manager. The control room was 2 floors up and I had the earpiece and the screen and every camera feed. I could see what was coming before anyone in that room could. The headset was heavy. The kind they give you when the room has to run like clockwork and there is no room for error. I wore it because someone told me to wear it. That morning. An instruction I did not write down, I should have. It was about the chair, about the room. About what would happen when the doors opened. I did not understand it then. I would find out later why that mattered. The red chair had been switched at the last minute. I noticed it when they brought the furniture in. Someone had requested it. I do not know who made the call. The original chair was still in storage somewhere, wrapped in plastic, and the new one was the same color but the legs were shorter, and the seat was harder and it sat lower to the ground. I remember thinking it looked like a trap. I remember thinking someone knew something I did not know. I thought about mentioning it to someone, but I did not know who to tell, so I just let it go. That was my first mistake, not speaking up, letting something strange pass in front of me like it was normal. The room had been dressed since 6 that morning. Flags, flowers on the side table. The water pitchers were already filled. The temperature was set too cold, the way it always is in these rooms, because the lights are hot and they figure people will be standing and nobody will notice until they start to shiver. I noticed. My hands were cold before anyone walked in. I rubbed them together between cues just to get warmth back into my fingers. The clipboard was cool against my chest every time I held it close. The crew moved in slow motion by 8:30. Cable checks, audio levels. The teleprompter operator ran his fingers along the edge of his screen like he always did before a big broadcast. I watched him. I know how he settles his nerves. He does this thing with his thumb where he presses it hard against his index finger and I can see the knuckle go white. He was doing it a lot that morning. I watched a lot of people that morning, waiting for something I could not name. The press was already lined up in the hallway. I could see them on the monitor from the control room. Rows of jackets and name badges and cameras balanced on shoulders. The press wrangler was walking up and down the line telling them where to stand and when to be quiet. She had been doing this for years. Her voice did not shake. But I saw her hands once when she turned the corner and her fingers were gripping the clipboard so tight the edges had gone white. She looked like someone who knew something was coming and did not know how to stop it. I was back in the control room when they called the first entrance. Through the headset, the voice from floor management told us the lead was in the hallway. 5 minutes out. I checked the cameras. 5 of them live. I checked the lighting. One of the fills was running hot and I flagged it and they adjusted it and I thought that was the important thing. The lights, the angles, the technical stuff that keeps the broadcast clean. It was not the important thing. I saw the door first. On monitor 3, the one from the hallway, the lead was walking toward it. He was moving slow, not nervous, not hesitant. He was moving the way a person moves when they are thinking about something else, something they are carrying with them and they are about to put it down for a while. He had a folder in his hand, dark blue. The cover was smooth and I could see the way the light caught the edge. I could not read what was on it from the angle of the camera, but I could see him holding it like he was not sure yet whether he would need it. And then he stopped. Just for a second, right outside the door. He looked back down the hallway the way he had come from and his mouth moved like he was saying something to someone behind him. The cameras did not catch this. Monitor 3 caught it. I caught it. No one else was watching that screen. I remember thinking he looked like a man who was about to do something hard and had not yet decided whether he was going to do it or walk away. He almost walked out, I need you to know that. In that moment right there he almost turned around. His hand moved. It almost went up to knock on the door to say he had changed his mind. I watched his fingers flex at his side and I watched his weight shift back onto his heel and I thought this is it, he's going to leave and then something happened. Something I could not see from the angle of that camera. His shoulders dropped. He exhaled, not a sigh of relief, a sigh of resignation. The kind of exhale a person does when they decide to stop fighting something and just walk into it, and he walked in. I did not know what changed his mind. I did not know who was in that hallway behind him. But I knew from that moment that someone had said something to him that mattered. The scrape, I told you about the scrape. The sound the chair made when it scraped backward. Sharp and wrong and too loud for the moment. Like a person who did not know how to be in a room quietly. Like a person who was used to rooms that were built around them. He sat down before the cue came. The stage manager on the floor would normally signal the entrances, would normally say now, would normally give the cue. But he did not wait. He sat down like he was done waiting for permission. He pulled the chair out and dropped into it, and I heard the scrape, and I knew something was wrong because the scrape was too loud, and the timing was too fast, and he was not supposed to sit yet. I was watching his hands by then, I do not know why. Something in me was looking for the thing the cameras would miss, the movement that would tell me what was coming before it came. And his hands were on the table, both of them, flat against the surface. Fingers spread, pressing down like he was trying to hold the table in place. Like he needed something solid to push against. His knuckles were pale, not white, not yet, but pale, like the blood had gone somewhere else. He was breathing wrong. I do not mean he was panicked. He was not panicked, he was in control, but his breath was too shallow, too fast. The kind of breathing a person does when they are running on adrenaline and do not know it yet. The kind of breathing that happens before the crash. I noticed it because I had been in that room for 2 hours and my breathing had gone slow and even, and my shoulders had dropped, and I was calm and he was not calm. He was performing calm. I could hear the difference through the headset, through the open mic on the floor, through all the layers of audio that the broadcast would never use. On monitor 2 I could see his throat, just barely, and there was a swallow, a big one, the kind that happens when your mouth goes dry and your body is trying to catch up with something your mind already knows. He swallowed right after he sat down, and then he did it again about 30 seconds later after other people came in, and again after that. Every time the other person in the room spoke. Every time. A swallow that came 1 beat too late. Like his body was processing what he was hearing a half second after he heard it. Like he was always 1 step behind his own reactions. The cameras did not catch that. The cameras were too high, too wide, focused on the angles that made for good television. They could not hear his breath. I could hear his breath. The other one came in 5 minutes after. I know because I watched the clock and I watched the monitors, and I was waiting for the door to open again because I knew the second entrance was coming and I needed to be ready to call the lighting shift. The director was in my ear, running the checklist. The cameras were repositioned. Everything was ready. And then the door opened and she walked in. The room changed when she walked in. I need you to understand that. It changed the way a room changes when a window opens and the air moves and the temperature drops, and you do not know why until you look up and see what came in. There was something about the way she moved, not fast, not slow, just deliberate. The way a person moves when they know exactly where they are going and they have known for a long time. She was calm, the calmest person in the room. She walked in like she had been there before, like she knew exactly where the chair was and exactly how it would feel when she sat down, and exactly what she was supposed to do with her hands when she got there. She had a pen in her hand, just a pen, the kind you get in a cup on a conference table, but it sat in her grip like it belonged there. Like she had been holding pens in rooms like this her whole life. She sat down in the red chair, the one with the short legs, the one that sat low to the ground. And she did not scrape it. She pulled it out, she sat down. She placed her pen on the table in front of her, and the pen sat there, parallel to the edge of the table, perfectly straight, not touching anything else, and I remember thinking that pen looked like it was placed by someone who had been trained to place things. Not nervously, not with hesitation, with precision, with the kind of care that comes from knowing that small things matter, and that people watch small things, and that the angle of a pen can tell you everything you need to know about a person. He was still breathing wrong. I could hear it through the headset. His breath was faster now. Shallower, his right hand moved, the one closest to the edge of the table. He brushed his fingers along the side of the wood, the place where the table's surface met the table leg, and he did it again, and I thought about what that might feel like. The smoothness of the finish, the sharpness of the corner, the need to touch something when you cannot touch the thing you want to touch. And then he smiled. It was right after she sat down, right after she placed the pen. He looked at her and something crossed his face, and it was not a smile at first, it was something else. A flicker, a moment of something that came and went too fast to name. And then his mouth moved and the muscles in his face adjusted and the smile arrived. 2 seconds too late. I could see it, the gap between the feeling and the performance of the feeling. The moment when his brain sent the signal and his face received it and responded, but not fast enough, not naturally. He was trying to look like a person who was happy to see her, but he was not happy to see her. I could hear it in his breath, I could see it in his hands. The cameras caught the smile, the cameras did not catch the delay. On the way in, before the room was full, before the cameras were rolling, before any of the things I have been telling you happened, she asked me something, just one thing. She was walking through the door, my door, I was standing next to it because I was in the hallway checking on the teleprompter feed, and she stopped and looked at me and said, almost quietly, almost off the record, "Is the chair the one we talked about?" And I did not know what she meant. I did not know what she was asking. I said something like yes, or I think so, or I can check. I cannot remember exactly what I said, but I remember that I did not understand the question. I remember that I filed it away in the part of my brain where things go when I do not know what they mean yet, and I moved on. I would find out later why that mattered. She sat in the red chair, the low one, the hard one, and she sat in it like it was hers, like she had chosen it, like it was the chair she had been waiting for. And he sat in the other one, the tall one, the one that put him higher. And it did put him above for a while until he slid down in his seat, and his knees hit the underside of the table and his posture went wrong, and he looked smaller than she did even though he was higher up. The cameras caught all of this. They caught him shifting in his seat. They caught his foot start tapping and then stop abruptly, like he caught himself doing something he did not want to be seen doing. What they did not catch was the rest. Commercial break, 2 minutes. The room did not empty. The microphones stayed hot even though we were off the broadcast. The director was in my ear telling me the timeline and the cues, and I was watching the monitors, and I was watching the two of them sitting there in the quiet. She looked at him. Just for a second, just once. She turned her head and she looked at him, and her face did not change and her expression did not change, and she looked at him the way a person looks at a problem they have already solved. Not with anger, not with triumph, just with certainty. The way you look at something you have already figured out. And he looked back. And I saw it, I saw the moment land. I saw his face change, not visibly, not in a way the cameras would have caught, but in a way I could see from the angle I was standing, from the screen I was watching. His jaw shifted, his eyes went to the side, his hands stopped moving. For 1 second, just one, his whole body went still in a way that was not calm. It was frozen. It was the stillness of a person who has just understood something they did not want to understand. She looked at him and she said nothing. She did not speak. She did not gesture. She did not do anything except sit there in the low chair with her pen parallel to the table and her shoulders back. And he understood. Whatever was in that folder he was holding, whatever he had come in the room planning to do, whatever he thought was going to happen when he walked through the door and sat in the high chair and breathed the wrong way and smiled 2 seconds too late. He understood that it was not going to happen that way. I watched his face, I watched his hands, I watched his breathing slow down, not because he was calm but because his body was shutting down the way a system shuts down when it has to stop trying. His shoulders dropped, his jaw unclenched. His hands went flat on the table again, but differently this time, not pressing, not gripping, just resting. The way a person rests when they have deck. I did not to fight. The break ended, the cameras rolled again, the room came back to life, the broadcast started again and the whole world was watching again. But something had already happened, something that no one in that room except me and them understood had happened. In the 2 minutes when no one was watching. In the 2 minutes when the room was quiet and the chair scraped and the pen sat still and 2 people looked at each other and one of them understood. After, when the cameras stopped for good, when the room emptied, when the crew was breaking down the lights and the flags were coming down and the floor manager was calling out cleanup assignments. I need to tell you what I saw her do. She walked past me. That is how close we were, 6 feet, maybe less. I was standing by the door with my headset around my neck and my clipboard in my hand, and she walked past me and she did not look at me and she did not stop. But just before she went through the door, she turned her head, just slightly, just enough. And she said a name. Just one name, quietly, not to me, not to anyone in the room. Just out loud into the hallway, like she was saying it to no one. Like she was saying it to herself, a name, 2 syllables, I heard it. I was the only one who heard it. And I saw him in the room behind me, where he was still sitting in the chair, the tall chair, the one that put him above. I saw him hear the name and I saw his face and I saw his hands and I knew. The name meant something. I do not know what it meant, I do not know who it was, I did not recognize it then and I have not been able to find it since. But I knew in that moment, watching his face, that she had just ended something. That the name was a key, that she had put it in the lock and turned it and he had heard it click. She walked out, he sat there for a long time. Nobody moved him. Nobody came into the room. I watched through the monitor until the crew finally went in to start breaking down the set, and he stood up and he left, and I never saw his face do what it did in that moment again. I have not told anyone this. In all the years since, in all the times this story has been told and debated and analyzed and watched on every screen in every room in every house, I have never said what I just said to you. I know what she did, I know what it meant to him. I know that the whole thing, the whole broadcast, the whole confrontation was not the moment everyone thinks it was. The end was a name said quietly, in a hallway to no one. And now you know. My friend is looking at me now. She has not said anything in almost an hour. She is just looking at me the way you look at a person who just finished telling you something they have carried for a long time. I sent a message after that day, to someone I should not have sent it to. I told them I had seen something and I could not explain it, and I needed them to know that what everyone thought happened was not what happened. I told them about the name. They did not believe me. They said the cameras would have caught it if something important had happened, and the cameras did not catch anything, so I must have been wrong. I was not wrong. I have thought about that message 1,000 times. I have thought about deleting it. I have thought about the person on the other end who read it and thought I was crazy and never wrote back. They never brought it up again. Not once. But I sent it. And it was real. And this is the first time I have said any of it out loud since I wrote it down that night, in the kitchen of my first apartment, with the tap running and the lights off and my hands shaking so bad I could barely hold the pen. I do not know why I am telling you this now. I do not know why tonight is the night. I only know that I have carried it long enough and that someone should hear it, and that you are here and I am here and we are driving down this road, and I am done keeping it inside. The sound of the chair, the scrape, that is what I hold on to. That is the thing that brings it back every time, not the broadcast, not the famous moment. The sound of the scrape and the breath and the name and the way his face went still. I think about it every time a chair moves wrong on television. I think about it every time,